serious which celebrity has done horrible things but it's swept under the rug? Naomi Campbell used to beat up her personal assistants. A plane had to make an emergency landing because she attacked a crew and tried to get into the cockpit after finding out her luggage had been temporarily lost. Refused to testify against an African ex-prime minister who was being charged with genocide who had given her a lot of jewelry. She was forced into testifying and did so under obvious resentment of having to be there and was later believed to have given dishonest testimony. I think there's a few other things, but those are the worst that I can remember off the top of my head. John Stamos' Jane magazine asked him about the worst thing he ever done to screw someone over. He provided this character-destroying anecdote in the mid-80s. I was in a band. I was playing somewhere in Finland. And there was a girl hanging around who was really drunk and interested in me. I wasn't into her, but my friend was. So the girl came back to my hotel and I turned the lights down. And we started making out. I said, "Hold on a second. I've got to go brush my teeth." It was dark. I left the room. And I sent in my friend who looked like me. Roman Polanski. Crime and Conviction. Roman Polanski, a renowned film director, fled the United States in 1978 after pleading guilty to unlawful sexual intercourse with a 13-year-old girl. Despite an international warrant for his arrest, he has continued to direct films in Europe, winning awards and accolades. Hidden details. The full extent of the assault and the victim's trauma were not widely reported initially. Focus was often placed on Polanski's career achievements, creating a narrative that downplayed the severity of his crime. Kobe Bryant. I do not get it. He was so good at basketball. Got it. I love sports and damn, he was amazing shooting that ball, don't get me wrong. But when he died and the world cried for him, not his daughter, that is tragic, but for him. And we have all these other players coming out talking about how great he is and good of a guy he was. He literally openly raped a woman. At one point in his life he held a woman down that tried to stop him and had sex with her to get what he wanted from her body. And we praise this dude. Not me. The late Indiana University men's basketball coach Bob Knight's controversial comments about rape. Come basketball news: if rape inevitable, relax, enjoy. A Bobby Knight's controversial quote resurfaces online following the legend's death. Arnie Jung, while discussing an Indiana basketball game in which he felt the referees were making poor calls against the Hoosiers, Knight said, "I think that if rape is inevitable, relax and enjoy it." It's suspected Robert Wagner killed Natalie Wood, or at least let her die when she fell overboard, after she caught him sleeping with Christopher Walken again. It's not even a secret anymore that Bryan Singer is a pedophile, and he keeps getting worse. Scary to think what occurred on the set of Usual Suspects between him and Spacey. Jim Carrey gave his ex-girlfriend a bunch of STDs without telling her, and she ended up killing herself over it. People still actively defend Roman Polanski and Woody Allen for their shit. Mark Wahlberg beat and blinded a Vietnamese guy just because he was Vietnamese. Boy George beat a guy with a metal chain after cuffing him to a radiator. NBA Hall of Famer Karl Malone raped a teenager. Jared Leto's been accused of rape by half a dozen teenage girls as well. Emma Roberts beat the shit out of her then boyfriend Evan Peters, then continued to co-star in the same show as him. Charlie Sheen once had unprotected sex with his girlfriends when he has HIV. James Marsden wrote a witness of character letter in defense of Brian Peck for his trial. I haven't heard a peep about it. There were others too, but James Marsden surprised me in particular. For those who don't know, Brian Peck was a pedophile employee by Nickelodeon who was convicted of violently and repeatedly sexually assaulting at least one child star working for the network. He went on to work with Disney afterwards. Arthur Freed, when interviewing Shirley Temple, evidently he unzipped his pants and exposed himself to her. I never actually saw any of Temple's shows or whatnot. However, I heard she endured AWFUL abuse, and her shows had very inappropriate connotations, as well as groping the little child. Pedophilia was rampant even back in the early 30s. They just got better at hiding it. Everyone forgets John Hom hospitalized a fraternity pledge in his frat and resulted in the frat being shut down. From Wikipedia, Hom lit the pledge's jeans on fire, shoved his face in the dirt, and struck him with a paddle. The pledge required medical care and ultimately withdrew from school. The incident resulted in the fraternity being shut down. Did everyone forget about Eddie Murphy possibly murdering the trans woman he picked up in WeHo at 4:30 in the morning? Maybe Ray Lewis murdering a dude at a party? What about Diddy? People seem to forget about his ass real quick. I can go in with billionaires, and I'm not looking to get drone strike today. Cardi B, she admitted to drugging and robbing men. She called black women monkeys and roaches. She made fun of a woman for their child dying. She wished AIDS on people's mother. She's told people to cut their veins. She's made transphobic and homophobic comments on video multiple times. The list goes on. The audio of Mia Farrow confronting Woody Allen distraught after finding out he raped her infant daughters. I'm beyond shocked that he isn't in prison, much less he was able to have a career after that. To quote the Beasties, the new style: if I played guitar I'd be Jimmy Page. The girlies I like are underage, check it. Page had a 14-year-old girlfriend stay with him at Peak ZP, and by all accounts Peter Grant, their manager, was an even bigger piece of shit. To banging minors. But I definitely remember flipping through Keith Richards' biography and mentioning the same thing, and Ike meeting her parents in their house, and never heard it mentioned somehow. Andy Dick was the one who caused Phil Hartman's wife to relapse in her addiction, which ultimately ended with her murdering him. In 2006, he also approached John Lovitz in a restaurant and said, "I put the Phil Hartman hex on you. You're the next one to die." Alec Baldwin. Lots of people will think of him accidentally shooting someone. No. He's an asshole because way back in the late 2000s he left a voicemail for his 11-year-old daughter cussing her out and calling her a pig. And he was so good in 30 Rock S. Everyone knows about Kevin Spacey's original bit of controversy, but there have also been multiple suspicious deaths of his accusers. Compy Kevin Spacey accusers now in a way that suggests he may have had them killed. Steven Seagal is a rapist. He also decided to play act as a cop and drove a tank into someone's house and killed their dog. He then detained a woman and possibly sexually assaulted her. Now he hangs out in Russia carrying G-water for Putin. John Henley of the Eagles' song Dirty Laundry is about how mean the press was to him and a teenage girl he'd been raping overdosed and died at his house, and he claimed that the drugs she ordered on were hers to avoid drug charges. I had one of my black friends tell me that the different reactions to OJ's death showed there are still to racial Americas in 2024. The motherfucker murdered his ex-wife and her friend and then wrote a book called If I Did It. CK to forget about all the shit Bill Cosby did. I'd why but a lot of the black people that I'm friends with absolutely fucking love coming to the defense of Bill Cosby like he isn't a rapist or anything. Ted Nugent raped a number of early teenage girls ranging from 14 to 17, and because he couldn't marry the 17-year-old he instead became her legal guardian. Just read the lyrics of Jail Bay and you will see he's a pos. Jack Nicholson beat a prostitute so severely caused her lifelong brain damage, and he beat another prostitute so severely he ruptured one of her breast implants. Film 2000 May 15 News 1. Motley Crue literally confesses to rape and abuse of women in the dirt, so twice with the audiobook recording. Served time for it, and by Bobby Brown's account he abused and violently raped her too. CeeLo Green's lawyer said he couldn't be guilty of rape because the woman was passed out so she couldn't say no. He is still out walking around. Even turns up on award shows and shit. Remember when John Landis killed Vic Morrow and two children and then skated because he was a huge director? And has a son Max who has been accused of sexual assault by several women. Clint Eastwood not only cheated on his wife but fathered 8 children from 6 different women and openly mocked Native American activist Sasheen Littlefeather at the 1973 Oscars. Terrence Howard, usually people think he's just a bit crazy because of his weird version of math. But the more alarming thing about him is that he's a serial domestic abuser. Gerard Depardieu was convicted of gang rape when he was a teen, and then recently 2 years ago had new charges of sexual assault brought against him by a Spanish journalist. Mel Gibson. He punched his then girlfriend in the mouth, knocking out teeth, all while she was holding their infant in her arms. Oh, and he's super bigoted. Jackie Chan had an affair and then abandoned the daughter of said affair. Wasn't present in her life at all. She ended up homeless in Canada last I heard. Tom Cruise. He's effectively been the public face of a profoundly abusive cult for what? 2 decades now. But no one cares when a new movie comes out. Ozzy. He's cheated on, beaten, and attempted to murder his wives. He's also a cat serial killer, both before and after his anti-declawing ad for Pitta. Roman Polanski. You have many A-list celebrity supporters. Last girl he raped was age 10. For the media know. Which means there could be more. Minai could apparently cuddle a rapist and abuse his victim, and no one gave a shit until she called herself out over a single lyric. Diddy. The shit he has done apparently goes back quite a long way. Gives the album Diddy Dirty Money a brand new meaning. Michael Vick. I cannot believe the number of YouTube videos where all the comments are what a great guy he is. Sick dude. Pick basically any rock band from the 80s. And at least one member will be a pedo rapist, and it's typically never talked about.